So what are popular industries for VR development? So this is some data that I got from Getty.com. They're user experience consultancy out in the Bay Area. And so what they're indicating is that entertainment obviously is a very big driver for VR industries, what their people are anticipating in the next 2 years. But education, media, medical, high tech, VR is definitely going to transform a lot of different industries the way things are done. For example, architecture, as well as professional training is predicted to have a lot of simulations and using VR to help people learn how to do jobs better. Marketing, having kind of targeted small, short-form experiences to help promote brands is supposed to be also a lot of activity. But of course, entertainment and gaming is going to be a big portion of that. So, what are VR gaming professionals working on? What platforms are they interested in? So, this comes from GDC Game Developers Conference, Europe. They did a survey about that. And you can see here that as far as game developers, they're very, very interested in high-end type of hardware, the Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, which are the most expensive platforms, but also often the most power and the most versatility in terms of input. But you can see that your VR and the PlayStation VR is not quite, developers aren't quite as interested in that. So, so what about outside gaming? What about non-game VR developers? And again, this comes to us from Getty.com, and if you were to start a virtual reality project today, what platforms have the most potential? And here, Samsung and PlayStation VR, it's less than 25%. So, so what does this mean? What does this mean if you're a VR UX freelancer? What kind of opportunity does this represent? Right. So basically, it could be one of two things. If you're working in games and entertainment, there may be an opportunity to focus on these platforms because there might be a lot of developers that are not as interested in working on Gear VR and PlayStation VR. And we'll get into the reasons why that might be in a little bit. So, or it could mean as developers tend to focus on more of these high-end experiences like the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, that they're going to create kind of these must-have type applications that people are going to want to check out, and it could drive greater consumer demand. So I just thought that was kind of some interesting data to take a look at. Okay, so the market is quite fragmented, and there's really a wide variety of input methods that all the different hardware offers. So gaze, what they call gaze, is the core interaction verb that goes across all VR platforms. So when you're looking around with your head, just like you do in real life, and you are interacting with the user interface elements, virtual user interface elements. So, but beyond that, if you look at the platforms here, it's totally fragmented. There's no standards. You have all the platforms that we talked about over here. These are standard number of game pads here. Some of the platforms, they support game pads. And then look at your VR. Basic your VR has 2 buttons, but then it goes up to 12. Same deal with PlayStation and Oculus. You can use like a DualShock controller or an Xbox controller. Some of them offer touchpads that you can actually touch and do things, as well as motion controls. And thankfully, most of them do have, all of them have a microphone. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot more voice activation, speech recognition as an input natural input. And positional tracking is when you have a camera in front of it, you can kind of see where you can detect a lot of information about the user's position, where their hands are. And the Vive offers best, in my opinion, the best user experience across the board. Has anyone tried Vive? Anyone tried it? Okay. A few people. If you get a chance, try Vive. Vive is amazing. It is really, really amazing. It's the closest thing, again, Star Trek reference, it's the closest thing we're getting to the holodeck. Really, really exciting stuff. And they've deliberately gone for more of a standardized platform strategy where they don't have multiple control configurations within the platform. They're just, this is where they planted their flag. High-end market, and standardized stuff. So it's moving along. The gamepad UX issue. So if you're going to be targeting kind of a gaming audience, one thing you need to be aware of is that, as I mentioned before, Oculus Rift, Gear VR, PlayStation VR, they all support traditional gamepads as well as kind of motion controls or other types of input methods. But in VR, you can't see your hands. They're blocked. You can't see it. So that kind of presents a little bit of a user experience issue. If you know your persona demographic is kind of a hardcore gamer type, they should have good muscle memory. This may be something that you need to you're doing your user research and that they can't see it. You know, do they know where the buttons are or what to press? If you're dealing with casual audiences, too many unseen buttons might be a problem. They can't look and see like, oh, this is where the X button is, or this is where the Y button is, or whatnot. So there may be ways to get around that. You can do virtual representation in virtual reality of the controller that they could look down and they can kind of see. But at this point in time, a lot of the finger tracking device technology is not quite there yet, so you can't kind of have that, but that might be like a good affordance or reference for your users. But just something to keep in mind if you're looking to use gamepads as an input method.